Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be doing some paper quilling, as you will have seen from the title of the video. And we are going to be making some autumn leaves and then putting it together in a bit of a composition with some other little bits. What I'm going to say here is I'm going to be talking about the shapes and things a little bit. But if you want a more in-depth view into the different shapes, then there will be a link in the description to the first video I did on paper quilling, which taught you through all the different shapes. But otherwise we will get started and practice making our autumn leaves. Now obviously these are autumn leaves, are kind of more sycamore type leaves. You could also do oak leaves and other kind of tree leaves. I'm focusing on the sycamore leaves today just because I see them more as autumn leaves for me. But you can use the similar shapes and you could probably work out the different types of leaf from it. So first of all, let's talk about how we are going to make our leaves. So I've got some card here that I'm going to need. You're going to need some paper quilling strips. I am going to be using 5mm strips, so that is the thickness of the width of the strip. I've got a variety of autumny colours here. You can buy these kind of little packs of strips off Amazon or other places, eBay, not eBay, Etsy. There's people who sell paper quilling strips. Yeah, they're readily available. As is all the equipment, it's not, you can get it very reasonably priced. So I have got my quilling board, which is just nice to have a bit of a base. I've got a pair of scissors. I've got my quilling tool, which has got a little gap in there for curling around, so it kind of grips onto the piece of paper. I have got tweezers because sometimes you need to manoeuvre things and they're quite small and fiddly. And I've got my glue, which is in this little kind of dispenser thing. It's got a tiny little nozzle on the top, so it's easier to direct it. Obviously, this isn't an essential thing. You can have a normal pot of PVA glue, which is what's in there. If you've got a cocktail stick or something, you can use that to dab it on. Because you see it's got a fine point, you can just dip that in the glue, dab it on, and it will do the same kind of job. Okay, so let's get started with our quilling. So what this is made up of is these shapes for the leaves are called, off the top of they're Marquis or teardrops. You can use either really to make that shape. Because I've kind of squeezed them a bit more at the end, they are more like a Marquis shape. As I said, look back at the first video I did and you will see what shapes, how to make them quite easily. But I'll show you what I'm doing as we make these leaves. The bigger parts are half strips and the smaller ones are quarter of a strip, and then just a random little bit of leftover strip to make the stem. So let's make our first leaf. So I'm going to start with just the dark orange. So what all I'll need is 2 strips for one leaf. I'll show you by putting it onto here, and then we'll use this for making our picture later. So folding it in half. Quick cut. Right, so now we quill it round. Just carefully curling it. Doesn't have to be too tight. And then you slide it off the tool, let it open out a little bit, This is kind of your loose coil. We then add a bit of glue onto the end of the strip. Don't need a lot. A tiny small amount. Gently press it down. So that would give you your loose coil. And this is when we shape it. So you squeeze in at the top so it's almost like a teardrop shape. And then a little bit of a squeeze at the bottom. So that's our shape there. You can squeeze it a bit more in the middle just to kind of flatten it out. It is entirely up to you. And you'll need another 2 this size. Obviously, because it's quilling, it may not look exactly the same. It's just the nature of quilling that can happen. So as you can see, I've got more of a gap at the top of that one. I might turn that the other way around. So that is our large parts of the leaf. So I'm going to make this smaller part now by folding this half strip into half again to make quarters. Obviously your coil is a lot smaller, but it's the same process. I'll do the last one. It doesn't want to stick, and sometimes that will happen. You just push it back, smooth it down. Okay, so we've got our pieces. I'm just going to arrange them so that we can stick them down. It's up to you how far you kind of position them out. You don't want it too far, kind of make it look like that leaf shape. I'm going to move my quilling board out of the way because it's a bit uneven. And I'm going to start sticking them down, so putting some glue around the back of the piece. So this is my first one. You don't need too much glue. It doesn't take much to stick these. Go on it that way, go on that way. Can go more at that kind of angle, I think. Now for the little ones, so they're kind of more like down like that. Slide that in there. So we've got our kind of leaf shape there. So now we just need to put our stem. So I've got quilling strip. I'm just going to cut a piece off the end. That doesn't have to be too long. And what I'm going to suggest is putting a little bit of glue down from the leaf, so you get the kind of place where you want it. This can be a good point to use your tweezers to, if you want to bend it slightly and hold it in place, and it will glue on just the side of this piece of paper. If you're putting a curl in it, you need to hold it for a bit more. Oh, see, that's a little bit long, maybe I can always trim it off a little bit. Just get your scissors, and you can trim a bit off. There's not a problem, and that's our little sycamore leaf. So we can put that then together into a bigger piece. We can, and I'm planning to do it with falling leaves. And you can use some teardrop shapes surrounding it to kind of make up like there's other leaves in the distance falling down. So we're just basically going to be using, you can use half strips, you can use quarter strips to do this. I'm going to use some quarter strips for the background pieces, and then I will show you my piece put together, but I'll just show you how to make these couple of bits. So you've got your coil. Obviously you don't need your quilling mat if you don't want to. A bit of glue. Probably a little bit too much on there, but that's alright. Just comes off in your fingers. That's your loose coil, and I'm just going to squeeze it at one end to make the teardrop shape. And then I can use them as my background leaves when I do my big piece. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you myself making the background piece. Using all the things I've kind of showed you here, and I will not talk through that. I just put some background music on and you can watch it come together. So I will speak to you again at the end. Okay, I'm going to stop here for the moment. This is the start of it all. It's going to be, I think this is going to take longer than I thought it would. So I'm going to do a bit of a finish off here. And then I'll finish the piece off and put it on as the end result. But all the things you need to know are already all in the video. It is just going to be placement of the same things repeated. I'm not going to do anything new. It's just going to take a little while to do lots of different pieces. And I don't want to bore you even more by watching that. Obviously you can do as many big leaves as you want. You can do as many of these little kind of leaves, individual leaves, as you want. There is nothing to say what is right, what is wrong. You don't have to copy me at all. Yeah, just have fun with it. That is the point. Each piece is unique just because of the way quilling works. If you have any questions, please put them in the description. I will try and answer them. If I know how. If there's the same kind of questions over and over, I will try and do a video for you, whether it's a short or another proper video. Yeah, as I said, all the basic shapes are in another video that I will link in the description as well, which is probably a good way to start. And yeah, you can find me on social media. All those links are in the description. My Etsy store is in the description. Everything's pretty much down in the description. But yeah, please like and subscribe. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and then you will know when new videos go up. I'm planning to try and do some more quilling videos in the coming weeks, including a Halloweeny version. So we shall see how that all goes. Yeah, so thanks for watching. I'll see you soon with another video, and enjoy the finished product, which will be coming up in a few seconds. Goodbye.